This video will present topics of murder, violence, and death. It is thus unsuitable for all audience. Viewer discretion is advised.
Saint Angela Merici, born in 1474 and passed away in 1540, was an Italian religious leader, educator, and founder of the Ursuline order, the first teaching congregation of women in the Catholic Church. She was born in Desenzano del Garda, a small town on the shores of Lake Garda in northern Italy, during the late Renaissance period. Her family was of modest but devoutly Catholic origins, and she grew up in an environment that valued faith and education. Angela's life was marked by piety and a strong commitment to spiritual practices. Angela was orphaned as a young girl after the passing of her parents and sister. These losses deeply affected her, but they also intensified her religious devotion. After her sister's passing, Angela sought solace through prayer and was reportedly granted a vision assuring her of her sister's salvation. This experience further strengthened her resolve to live a life devoted to God. Angela moved to the nearby town of Salo to live with an uncle. During her time there, she became a member of the Third Order of St. Francis, a lay organization dedicated to living the gospel in everyday life. This affiliation allowed her to deepen her spiritual life while remaining active in the community. It was also during this period that Angela began to feel a calling to address the needs of young girls, particularly their lack of education and spiritual formation. Angela's mission was inspired by her belief that the renewal of society depended on the moral and spiritual education of women. In her time, education for girls was rare, and many were left unprepared for both religious and practical life. Angela believed that a well formed woman could profoundly influence her family and community. She began to teach girls in her home, providing both religious instruction and practical guidance. Her efforts quickly gained recognition and support. In 1516, Angela experienced a profound mystical vision while traveling to the Holy Land. She was temporarily blinded during the journey, but continued her pilgrimage, relying on the others to guide her. According to her accounts, her sight was miraculously restored as she prayed before the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. This experience reinforced her sense of divine mission and confirmed her path. After returning to Italy, Angela settled in Brescia, where she became widely respected for her wisdom, humility, and charitable works. She attracted a group of like minded women who shared her vision of educating and spiritually forming young girls. On November 25th, 1535, Angela and her companions formally established the Company of St. Ursula, named after the Saint Ursula, a legendary Christian martyr revered as a symbol of purity and courage. Unlike traditional religious orders, the Ursulines lived in their own homes rather than in a convent and did not formally take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Instead, they committed themselves to a life of service, prayer, and teaching. This innovative structure of the Ursulines community reflected Angela's vision. She believed in empowering women to serve God and society without requiring them to retreat from the world. This model allowed her followers to work directly within their communities, making education and spiritual guidance accessible to many more people. Angela spent several years overseeing the growth of her order and writing its rule. which outlined the spiritual and practical principles guiding the Ursulines. Her rule emphasized the importance of personal holiness, mutual support among members, and the centrality, of prayer and service in their mission. Angela's leadership style was characterized by gentleness and encouragement as she sought to inspire rather than command. Saint Angela Merici passed away on January 27, 1540, in Brescia. She was buried in the church of St. Afra, where her tomb became a site of pilgrimage. Angela was beatified in 1768 by Pope Clement XIII and canonized on May 24th, 1807, by Pope Pius VII. She's venerated as a patron saint of teachers and educators, reflecting her lifelong dedication to the formation of young minds and hearts. The Ursuline order expanded rapidly after Angela's passing, becoming one of the most influential teaching orders in the Catholic Church. Today, the Ursulines continue their missions in schools, universities, and ministries around the world, embodying Angela's visions of education as means of spiritual and social renewal. Angela's legacy endures not only in the institutions she inspired, but also in her example of courage, faith, and innovation. Her life reminds us of the transformative power of education and the profound impact one person can have on the world through faith and service. Here's an exhaustive but brief description of the iconography of Saint Angela Merici, providing insight into how she's visually represented in religious art and symbolism. Saint Angela Merici is often depicted wearing simple, modest attire, typically of the Franciscan territory or laywoman of her time. This includes a dark brown cloak, which represents humility and her association with the Franciscan tradition. There's also usually a veil or head covering symbolizing her chastity and dedication to God. She's often seen with a staff or walking stick to signify her pilgrimage to the Holy Land and her spiritual journey. Sometimes she's also shown in the attire of a pilgrim with a broad brimmed hat and sandals, emphasizing her commitment to both physical and spiritual travels. She can sometimes be seen holding a book or scroll, symbolizing her creation of the rules she wrote for the Ursuline order. This also highlights her dedication to education and the dissemination of spiritual knowledge. A lily may appear in her iconography, which typically represents her purity and virtue. Saint Angela is sometimes also accompanied by angels, particularly to recall her mystical visions and her spiritual guidance by divine beings. As the founder of the company of Saint Ursula, Saint Angela is occasionally depicted with symbols associated with Saint Ursula, such as an arrow, referring to Ursula's martyrdom, or a crown. Many scenes are depicted in the iconography of Saint Angela. Scenes of the Vision of the Ladder may be depicted, as this is one of the most iconic representation of Angela's features her mystical vision of a ladder leading to heaven, which she experienced in her youth. In the scenes, angels are often shown ascending and descending the ladder, symbolizing divine favor. Typically, Saint Angela is portrayed in prayer or in awe, receiving the vision with humility. Scenes of the miracle of her sight often are also depicted. Another common theme is the miraculous restoration of her sight during her pilgrimage to the Holy Lands. Paintings often depict Angela kneeling in prayer before the Holy Sepulchre, with light or divine rays emanating from her face or surroundings. This emphasizes her faith and divine favor. As a patroness of educators, Saint Angela is frequently shown as well, surrounded by young girls, either in classroom-like settings or outdoors. These scenes emphasizes her role in the spiritual and moral education of women and her nurturing and maternal qualities. Finally, some depictions focus on Angela's death, often portraying her surrounded by companions or members of the Ursuline order. These images highlight her serenity in passing and the veneration she inspired even during her lifetime. Many colors and lights are used in her iconography. Many earthly tones are used, as these colors are associated with her clothing and are generally muted brown, beige, and gray, which usually underscores her humility and simplicity. Heavenly light also is used in many artworks. A soft halo or divine light surrounds her head, symbolizing her sanctity and connection to God, while as blue and gold, occasionally used for brighter colors, represent her heavenly reward and spiritual wisdom. Many things are also depicted in her hand. A crucifix may be shown in her hands, symbolizing her devotion to Christ and her role as spiritual mother. A rosary sometimes is depicted in her hand or around her waist, which signifies her prayerfulness and Marian devotion. In other depictions, her hands are often used as an open symbol or blessing posture, reflecting her role as a guide and mentor. Settings may be varied but often include a church or schoolyard. Some depictions place her in a church or schoolyard setting, emphasizing her role in founded the Ursuline order or her dedication to teaching. The landscape of Lake Garda or countryside of northern Italy may form the background as well, situating her in her context of origin. In more exalted representations, Angela is shown in heavenly settings, surrounded by angels and saints, often holding the rule of her order as a testament of her accomplishments. Many posthumous symbols are used in her iconography, such as the Tomb of Veneration. Images of St. Angela may include her tomb in Brescia, often depicted with pilgrims kneeling at her shrine, signifying her enduring influence and the miracles attributed to her intercession. Crown of Glory. In some portrayals, she is depicted wearing a or receiving a crown of glory from Christ or angels, signifying her heavenly reward as a saint. Finally, a dove, symbolizing the Holy Spirit, may appear near her, particularly in connection with her mystical experiences. As for her facial expression, it is typically serene and kind, reflecting her compassionate and nurturing nature. She's often as well shown as a middle aged or elderly woman, representing the wisdom and experience she brought to her mission. By carefully blending these elements, artists across centuries have captured the essence of St. Angela Merici, portraying her as a visionary, educator, and servant of God. Here is a brief description of the miracles attributed to St. Angela Merici. After a sudden passing of her death of her sister, who has not yet received the sacraments before her passing, Angela was overcome with grief and concern for her soul. In a mystical vision, Angela saw her sister in heaven surrounded by angels. This is experience is not only consoled has not only consoled Angela but also confirmed her belief in divine mercy and the power of prayer. Another example is while on pilgrimage to the Holy Land, Angela herself experienced temporary blindness. Despite this affliction, she continued her spiritual journey with faith. In Jerusalem, as she prayed fervently before the Holy Sepulchre, her sight was miraculously restored. This event is widely regarded as a testament to her trust in God's providence. Additionally, during her lifetime, several accounts describe individuals who were blind or suffering from visual impairments being healed through Angela's intercession and prayers. Angela was also known for her generosity and care for the poor. On one occasion, when resources were scarce, she prayed for divine intervention to feed a group of needy people. Miraculously, the small supply of bread she had in hand multiplied, allowing her to feed everyone present. This act reinforced her reputation for a miraculous charity and care for the marginalized. Angela was sought after as well by many for her prayers and blessings, as people believed she had special connection to God. Several accounts from her lifetime describe miraculous healings of the sick, including those with severe illness, after Angela blessed them or prayed over them. During a time of political turmoil and threats of violence in Brescia, Angela was reported to have prayed fervently for the safety of the city. Many citizens credited her for intercession with averting significant destruction and keeping the people safe from harm. On a journey to found a new community, Angela and her companions encountered a violent storm while traveling across the river. As the boat struggled against the waves, Angela prayed for deliverance. The storm reportedly subsided immediately, allowing them to reach their destination safely. Like many saints, Saint Angela was credited with many posthumous miracles as well. After her passing in 1540, her tomb in Brescia became a site of pilgrimage. Numerous accounts of miracles, healings have been recorded by those who visited her tomb and prayed for her intercession. These include the cures for physical ailments as well, such as paralysis, chronic pain, and fevers. In the years following Angela's passing, several Ursuline communities report being saved from danger through her intercession. For instance, during a plague outbreak, members of her order prayed to her, and their community remained unharmed while the disease ravaged nearby areas. One of the most famous miracles attributed to Angela involved a child who had fallen gravely ill and was near death. After the family prayed to Angela and placed a relic of hers near the child made a sudden and complete recovery, with doctors could have no explanation for. A woman suffering from paralysis and unable to walk for years prayed to Saint Angela for her tomb. At her tomb, sorry. After days of devotion, the woman reportedly regained full mobility and strength, leaving her crutches behind as a testimony to the miracle. Devotees of Saint Angela have credited her with intercession with protecting their towns and communities during times of war, famine, and natural disasters. For example, several reports document how Areas dedicated to her experienced minimal damage during earthquakes or remained untouched by invading forces. Accounts exist of individuals as well suffering from severe mental anguish or psychological conditions who found peace and healing after invoking St. Angela's intercession. These healings were often accompanied by newfound sense of spiritual clarity and devotion. There were, of course, many miracles leading to the canonization process. St. Angela's Merici's canonization in 1807 by Pope Pius VII was supported by several documented miracles attributed to her intercession. These were rigorously investigated by the Church and include the following: a healing of a young woman with debilitating illness, a young woman suffering from an incurable disease prayed to St. Angela and her condition was miraculously cleared. This event was one of the key miracles considered during the canonization process. Restoration of a farmer's crop. In a rural area, of farmers' crops were failing due to a prolonged drought, prayed to Saint Angela. Soon after, rain fell and on his fields, revitalizing the land. This miracle was seen as a sign of Angela's continued care for the poor and her connection to the natural world. Finally, there was a cure of a priest with a life threatening fever. A priest suffering from severe fever invoked St. Angela's intercession. After placing a relic of hers on his chest, he experienced an immediate and complete recovery, which he attributed to her miraculous intervention. There are, of course, many modern miracles and ongoing devotion. In modern times, devotees of St. Angela continue to report miraculous healings attributed to her intercession. One notable case involved a woman diagnosed with terminal cancer who prayed to St. Angela and was inexplicably healed, leaving her doctors baffled. Testimonies also exist of individuals who, after invoking St. Angela or learning about her life, experienced profound spiritual conversions. These conversions are often described as sudden and accompanied by a deep sense of peace and purpose. Many schools and universities affiliated with the Ursuline order frequently attributes their survival and success during challenging times to St. Angela's intercession. Stories of financial miracles, unexpected donations, and resolutions of conflicts are common among these institutions. Saint Angela Merici's legacy as a miracle worker extends beyond her life, reflecting her profound faith, compassion, and enduring intercession for those in need. Her miracles continue to inspire devotion among the faithful, particularly educators and those seeking healing or guidance. Here's a brief account of the canonization process for Saint Angela Merici. After Saint Angela Merici's passing on January 27, 1540, devotion to her began almost immediately. Her reputation as a holy woman and miracle worker combined with her role as the founder of the Ursuline order made her a figure of widespread admiration. Pilgrims flocked to her tomb in the church of St. Afra in Brescia, where numerous miracles were reported. Her body was exhumed several times in the decades following her passing and was found to be incorrupt, which reinforced her sanctity in the eyes of the faithful. This phenomenon contributed significantly to her growing veneration. The rapid expansion of the Ursuline order across Europe further bolstered devotion to Angela. As the order established schools and convents, Angela was honored as their founder and spiritual mother. Her name became synonymous with education of young women, contributing to her widespread recognition. The process for St. Angela's canonization officially began in 1768, over 2 centuries after her passing. This delay was not unusual for the time, as formal canonization procedures often require substantial documentation and widespread veneration. Pope Clement XIII issued a decree recognizing Angela's heroic virtues, declaring her venerable, the first official step in the canonization process. Angela Merici was beatified on April 30th, 1768 by Pope Clement XIII. The step allowed her to be venerated publicly in specific regions, particularly in Italy and within the Ursuline communities. Beatification requires verified miracles attributed to her intercession. During this phase, a rigorous investigation was conducted to validate accounts of miraculous healings and interventions attributed to Angela, focusing on events that occurred at her tomb in Brescia. The Congregation of Rites, the predecessor to the modern Congregation for the Causes of Saints, was responsible for examining her life, virtues, and miracles. The investigation involved reviewing her writings, including the rule she authored for the Ursuline order to ensure they were free from doctrinal error, collecting testimonies from witnesses who could also attest to her holiness and miracles performed through intercession was also part of the investigation. There was also a verifying the consistency and authority of the miracles, which included medical reports and excerpts, providing testimonies that the healing had no natural explanation possible. The canonization process of Merici required additional miracles as well to be attributed to her intercession after her beatification. These miracles underwent thorough scrutiny by a panel of theologians, physicians, and church officials to ensure they were genuine and could not be explained by natural causes. Among these miracles were documented cases of physical healings, including the recovery of individuals with incurable illnesses. One notable miracle involved the instantaneous healing of a child from a life threatening condition after a relic of Angela was placed near them and became a key factor in advancing her canonization. After these miracles were validated, the case was presented to Pope Pius VII, who authorized her canonization. The final decree affirmed Angela's sanctity and recognized her as a model of Christian virtue and service. Saint Angela Merici was canonized on May 24th, 1807 by Pope Pius VII. The ceremony took place in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, a significant event that drew pilgrims, clergy, and members of the Ursuline order from across Europe. During the ceremony, Pope Pius VII officially proclaimed Angela as the saint of the Catholic Church, highlighting her contributions to the education of women and her role in fostering spiritual renewal. Her feast day is set on January 27th, the date of her passing. Canonization elevated Angela Merici from a figure of regional veneration to one of universal significance in the Catholic Church. She was officially recognized as the patron saint of educators and young women, reflecting her lifelong dedication to the moral and spiritual formation of others. Following her canonization, Devotion to St. Angela expanded globally as the Ursuline order continued to establish schools, convents, and missions around the world. Her image and relics became central to the Ursuline spirituality, and her life was celebrated as an ideal Christian service. The canonization led to the widespread creation of her religious art depicting Angela in schools, churches, and the Ursuline institutions. Her inclusion in the liturgical calendar also formalized her veneration, and with special prayers as well as masses dedicated to her memory. The canonization of Saint Angela Merici not only confirmed her personal sanctity but also underscores the Church's recognition of the importance of education and empowerment of women. Her canonization served as a model for recognizing the contribution of laywomen and religious founders, setting a precedent for future saints. Today, her influence fell through the enduring work of the Ursuline order and the countless lives transformed by the educational institutions she inspired.